Rutgers just told us something very clearly. This team's trying to win right now. And the decision to name Dylan Lonergan as starting quarterback over AJ Cerese is about a lot more than who is better practice on a random Tuesday in August, because in this episode of the Big Ten Huddle presented by FanDuel, I think Greg Schiano just made one of the biggest bets of his second tenure at Rutgers. And I know that sounds dramatic. Nobody has played a game yet. Lonergan could be terrific. Cerese could still play meaningful football this season, and Rutgers is not changing everything about its program because of one depth chart, decision. But listen, this is exactly why the decision matters. Rutgers had a quarterback in AJ Cerese who had been in the program for years and developing in the system. And according to different media outlets out there, there were people who watched practice who legitimately believed Cerese was going to win the job. I did. In fact, I made an entire video about it. People's own read sounded something like it was 55-45 in favor of Cerese. And I thought it was too. But then Rutgers picks Dylan Lonergan. That tells me this was not a ceremonial decision. It was not, well, the transfer came in, so obviously he plays. It sounds like this was close. And when a competition is close, the deciding factor tells you what the coaching staff values most. Schiano and the offensive coordinator, Kirk Ciarrocca, apparently believe Lonergan gives Rutgers the best chance to win games right now. That's why you start the guy. Go figure. And that is the story. And there's people, that are believing it and not believing it. But I'm here looking at this, and I'm trying to get to the heart of it. I'm saying that your time is earned out there. Cerese was outperformed overall, and the coaches see everything: practice, meeting, leadership, preparation, and that's fair. But there's another side to this, I think, too. If Rutgers had chosen Cerese and went 5-7, you could still sell the future on that, right? First-year starter, young quarterback, let him grow. Maybe by November, you're seeing the guy who can lead this program in the next couple of seasons. And actually would go well with Travis Johansson. If the defense isn't great, you're saying first year, let's let him get his own guys in the system, do all that stuff. But when you choose Lonergan instead, that argument gets a lot harder. You're telling everyone we evaluated both of these guys, and this is the quarterback who gives us the best chance to win now. So now you got to win. And here's where I do understand the decision. Lonergan gives Rutgers some things that make sense for this roster. He completed 67% of his passes last season at Boston College. The turnover rate was low, and even in messy situations, he showed legitimate arm talent. There was a game against Michigan State, and Stanford was another one. I think Georgia Tech was the other one when he went for over 300 yards. That matters because Rutgers may not need its quarterback to be Superman. They just need him to get the ball out there. KJ Duff can make plays. Rutgers likes the skill talent around him. They believe the offensive line can give the quarterback a better situation than Lonergan had at stretches at Boston College. If you can protect him, let him make the right read, get the football out accurately, and put it in a spot where the receiver can keep running. That can be a functional Big Ten offense that can get you to 6, maybe 7, maybe even 8 wins this season. And the numbers suggest it may look different from what Rutgers fans got used to. There's all kinds of discussions out there, but one of them could be cited around Lonergan with an average depth of target of about 7.7 yards, compared with roughly 11.2 for Ethan Kaliakmanis. You can also look at Lonergan's attempts that came within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, compared with roughly half of Kaliakmanis. So don't be shocked if the offense gets more compact, quick game, accurate throws. Let the receivers create after the catch, stay ahead of the sticks, avoid third and forever, make the defense tackle you. That's kind of a lost art in some ways in college football, especially against certain teams that maybe aren't doing that as much. That is not boring football if it works. That's a winning formula if it fits your personnel. And the 5.5 win total on FanDuel gives us a useful way to reframe what Rutgers is trying to accomplish. Forget trying to read some secret message into why numbers moved. The bigger point is that 6 wins is the line Rutgers has to clear if it wants this season to feel like progress. That's why I keep going back to the same question. Why choose the transfer over the homegrown quarterback if you do not believe you're ready to win right now? This feels like the staff saying, we're not waiting. We got the pieces around the quarterback. We're good enough. And I think they are. They got Antoine Raymond. They got KJ Duff. They have a good offensive line. The defense should be better than last season. The skill group gives you legitimate options. There is optimism around the offensive line. And Rutgers has a schedule where bowl eligibility is not some ridiculous fantasy. So if those things are true, the quarterback decision becomes less about, upside 2 years from now and more about avoiding the mistakes that lose games this fall. And that's where Lonergan makes sense. But it's also why the pressure goes up on Schiano. Because if this works with Rutgers and they win 7 or 8 games, nobody cares about the argument that we're having in August. Winning ends quarterback controversies faster than anything in football. But if Rutgers is 7-5, Lonergan is protecting the football, KJ Duff is producing, and the offense looks competent, Schiano made the right call. And not just competent. That's not the goal for them. They had a very good offense last season. But if you have good offense, but if Rutgers is 4-8 or 5-7, and quarterback play is part of the problem, and you're not like super injured, now the questions become unavoidable. Why'd you sit the player you spent years developing for a transfer if the transfer didn't materially change the results? That's the gamble here. Now that Lonergan has to become a star, I do not think that this is the standard, right? He has to make the decision worth it here now for Greg Schiano. And there is one early game that could change the entire feeling around the choice. It's Lonergan's old school, his former team, Boston College. And I love the psychology of it. Right? He was asked about potentially facing his old program and basically made it clear that, yeah, it's on my mind. And I like a guy who doesn't lie about it. Yeah, it's on my mind. I want to beat him, right? Imagine Rutgers goes up there, Lonergan plays well, and the Scarlet Knights get the win. Now the transfer quarterback is not the outsider who beat the Rutgers kid for the job. He's the guy who just led Rutgers into his old stadium and won. That's how a locker room gets galvanized. That's how a fan base says, let's rock with this. Let's rock with this guy. And with USC coming in after that, suddenly Rutgers could enter that game with some real momentum and clarity at quarterback. Instead of spending September debating who should be playing, that is the best case version of this decision. And I want to be clear about one other thing. I don't buy the argument that this is automatically proves that Rutgers can't develop quarterbacks. I know that was questioned a little bit out there, but college football's changed too much for that. Taking a transfer, improving him, and winning with him is developmental now as well. Rutgers just had Ethan Kaliak-Manis produce one of the better quarterback seasons in a long time after transferring in. The transfer portal is a part of roster building, not some admission of failure anymore. Maybe it was in the past, but that's not what it is anymore. The real issue is simpler. Rutgers has chosen the quarterback it believes is better today over the quarterback who have represented the cleaner long-term developmental story. That means 2026 cannot just be about building. It has to be about results. And that's why I think Dylan Lonergan being named QB1 is bigger than just a normal camp announcement. It tells you that Greg Schiano believes about this roster, believes in this roster. He believes Rutgers can win now. He believes Lonergan is the quarterback most capable of helping him do it. And once you make that choice, there is nowhere to hide from the results. So if you're a Rutgers fan, tell me in the comments, did Schiano make the right call with Dylan Lonergan, or would you have gone with AJ Cerese? I know early on I said AJ Cerese because I thought it was going to be a quick decision. And I thought that's, based on Greg Schiano's comments at Big Ten Media Days. But once the decision didn't prove to be so quick, I kind of started going over to Dylan Lonergan. I didn't put out a video about it. I should have, because now it just looks like, oh, this guy likes to tell everybody he was right when he didn't actually do anything. I get it. I'm not trying to do that. But I do think this is a very interesting situation for Rutgers. And I think it's a good development too. This is the kind of thing that I think Greg Schiano should be doing, should be prioritizing, and should be making happen. If you like Big Ten football talk and Big Ten basketball analysis, join us here at the Big Ten Huddle. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and if you would, share the video with a friend. You know, we love talking Rutgers here. We had them 5-7 in our predictions. We didn't love that we did that, but you know, we try to be as honest as we can, and we try to cover the teams that show us the most love. So if you want us to keep covering Rutgers football, show us some love, like the video, subscribe, do all that stuff, and tell a friend to like the video and subscribe too. We appreciate you being here. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.